Hey guys, Coach Jason here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a different video today. I'm actually going to break down a race, and I'm going to use three distances, okay? And let's say you're a coach, and this is going to be a helpful guide for coaches, especially beginners ones, who may not do this already. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take three distances, 4 kilometers, and I'm going to use Van Cortlandt Park as an example. So for any coach that's familiar, or athlete that's familiar with Van Cortlandt Park, you know that aside from regionals, all the races there are 2.5 miles, which is 4 kilometers. And I measured it with a wheel. So I have it broken down accordingly. So from the starting line to the beginning of the back loop, so as soon as you pass the bridge, the bottom of that back loop, 1,200 meters. The back loop itself, 2 kilometers, which puts you at 3,200 meters, which leaves you 800 meters from the beginning of the bridge down to the finish. Now, the first 800 meters is flat mostly and with slight accelerations to get to the back loop. The entire back loop is rolling, okay? And then the final 800 meters is about 100 meters worth of downhill running on gradual, and then out in the flats for about 700 meters of flat running. Okay, that's how the course is laid out. And then I'm going to do a 5K distance, which is most high school running. High school distances, boys and girls, and sometimes some college distances as well for women. And then I'm going to do 8 kilometers or 5 miles for your men. All right, and I'm going to use, let's say we use the same course. If you run a course twice in a season or more than twice in a season, this is a much more helpful guide because it helps you break things down a little bit and analyze it. Okay. One of the suggestions I have is if you have assistant coaches or some athletes who aren't racing but are there cheering their team on, if you could put them, let's say at the Van Cortlandt Park, put a couple athletes or one of them at the bridge to take the split from start to the bridge, and then another split from the start of the back loop to the end of the back loop, and then someone else at the finish to get the finishing time. So you can take 3 splits: 800 meters, 3,200 meters, finish. Okay, and then it'll help you break things down and analyze it, and I'll go through this to show you why it's important. And the same applies for the 5K. I would have somebody at the mile mark and the 2 mile mark, and then at the finish, which is a little bit more than a mile. And then if you can afford to have people at every mile for the 8,000 meters, 5 miles, I would do that. If you can't, then maybe at the first mile and the 3 mile, and then the finish. Okay. Now, let's go to Van Cortlandt Park. And what I'm going to do is this side is going to be a 1-minute spread from your number 1 athlete to your number 5 athlete. I'm only using 5 because those are the only ones that are eligible to score. All right? And I'm going to have a 1-minute spread here, and then how it progresses from a 1-minute spread over to a 30-second spread on this side. Ideally, now this doesn't always happen, but ideally most of the progress happens on the back end. Okay? So whoever your front athletes are, they're generally going to be the same for the most part, and you'll see a lot of the progress happen on the back end, which is a good thing because ideally, if you want to close from 1 minute to 30 seconds, you don't want your front athletes getting closer to your back athletes. You want your back athletes getting closer to your front athletes, because that could be the difference between being number 6 through 10 or being number 1 through 5 as a team. All right, and the idea is to progressively get faster throughout the season. And like I said, the top athletes, for the most part, they're starting out the season real fast. They'll generally stay about the same, maybe get a little bit faster, but the people in the back are generally the ones who are going to be moving up. And for the most part, we're always looking for a 3 and a 4 and a 5. We pretty much know who the number 1 and number 2s are for the most part. It's having to find those people in back end to help close the deal or seal the deal, and help bring them to the finish. So, because ideally you want the lowest scoring team, which is the least amount of points to win, obviously, in cross country. So, or any team scoring race in track, not in track, in cross country. Okay, so let's get to this. Okay, your 4 kilometers. I have your number 1 runner going out in 4 minutes, which is a 5:20 pace. Okay, and then running 11:05 at the 2 miles, so it's a 7:05 back loop, and then finishing at 15 minutes for a 6 minute per mile average. So they started out 5:20 and slowed down to average 6 minutes per mile. So it's a pretty significant slowdown, with the last 800 meters being 3:55, okay, which is pretty slow. Okay, your number 2 runner goes out at 4:15, which is 5:40, comes through and runs 11:35, which is a 7:20 back loop, and then it comes through in 15:15, okay, which is a 6:06 average. Okay, and I'm going to use essentially starting with 6 minutes per mile here, 5:30 per mile here, and 5 minutes per mile there. Just so you can see you have a range of numbers here. Okay, number 3 athletes go out in 4:30, which is 6 minute pace, 12:08 through the 2 miles, which is a 7:38 back loop, and then finishes in 15:30 for a 6:12 average. Still a slowdown, but not as pronounced as the ones in the front. Okay. Number 4 athlete goes out 4:45, which is 6:20, comes through in 12:40, which is a 7:55 back loop, okay, and then finishes in 15:45, which is a 6:18 average. So you now have seen a little bit gradually getting faster now, okay, from start to finish. And then your number 5 athlete goes out in 5 minutes, which is a 6:40 average, comes through in 13:10, which is 6:35 average, which is 8:10 back loop, and then finishing in 16 minutes, which is a 6:24 average. So a significant acceleration from the start to the finish, okay? So, I don't know if you noticed, but your number 1 and 2 athletes, and this essentially, let's say this is the first week maybe of the season. People are itching to run. They haven't raced in quite a while, so the adrenaline's there. People want to kind of test each other and see where they're at. You'll have athletes like this who go out way too fast and then slow down, okay? The reason why I have people take splits, because now it allows you to analyze, okay, who went out too fast, and how much did they slow down, who ran even, and who ran, conservatively and kind of picked up throughout the race. It gives you a chance to analyze and make some adjustments for the next race, especially if you're going to repeat a race on this course several weeks down the road, okay? And especially here, if you're not running 5:20 miles in practice yet, it doesn't make sense to go out in 5:20 pace. It just doesn't, okay? If you're progressively getting faster throughout the workouts, it's more of an ideal scenario to kind of race the same way. All right, but again, as you get fitter along the way, 4 minutes won't feel as difficult 6 to 8 weeks from now. You'll be able to maintain it a lot better. Okay, but just for adjustment purposes, let's go to this end now. Okay, and I'll point out you have a 1 minute spread from 15 minutes to 16 minutes. Okay, now your number 1 athlete starts out 4:10, a little bit slower. Okay, 5:33 pace, then comes through in 11:20 for 2 miles, which is a 7:10 back loop. But now finishes in 14:45. So instead of finishing in 3:55, you're now finishing in 3:25. 30-second improvement on the final 800, okay, which is huge, okay, which is a 5:54 average. Number 2 athlete goes out in 4:17 instead of 4:15, so relatively the same. But now is also coming through in 11:35. But again, instead of finishing in 15:15, finishes in 14:52. Okay, so instead of finishing in 3:40. Now 3:17. Again, a 23-second improvement for the 800. Big improvement. It's dropping 23 seconds, okay? Number 3 athlete, instead of going out 4:30, goes out a little bit faster in 4:24. Comes through in 11:49, which is a 7:25 back loop, and finishes in 15 minutes, which is a 6-minute average, all right? Your 4 athlete, instead of going out 4:45, goes out 4:32. Remember I said a lot of the progress is going to come from the back end. A lot of significant improvements in time. But again, it'll happen over time as well. 4:32, which is a 6:03 per mile. Finishes the back loop in 12:06, which is a 7:34 back loop. And then finishes in 15:07, which is a 6:03 average. Right across the board. Even. Okay? Number 5 athlete, instead of going out in 5 minutes, goes out 4:40. It's now 12:22 instead of 13:10. 48 seconds difference at the 2 mile, which is a 7:42 back loop. Remember I said they make up a lot of time in that bigger loop? Well, this is a prime example of that. As you get fitter and as you go out a little bit, either going out a little bit slower here or being fitter and being able to go out a little bit faster and come back faster shows. And you can make up the difference when it counts the most. Okay? And it finishes at 15:15 for a 6:06 average. So negative split starting at 6:13 and finishing at 6:06 pace. Okay? That last 800... 2:54, okay, sub 6 minute pace, all right? Now, look, you have a 14:45 to 15:15, a 30-second spread now. Now, the other thing I'll point out, too, look at your number 5 runner is where your number 2 runner was 4 to 6 weeks ago. That's huge improvement. Again, the improvement went this way. It didn't go that way, okay? That's how you go from being back end of the front of the top 10 to the front end of the top 10, all right? So, let's move to the 5K now. Number 1 runner goes out in 5 minutes and comes back in 10:15, which is a 5:15, and finishes at 17:06, which is a 5:30 average, a significant slowdown. Number 2 runner goes out at 5:15, comes back in 10:40 for a 5:25, 17:21 for a 5:35 average, still a slowdown. Number 3 runner goes out at 5:30, comes back in 11:05, which is a 5:35, so relatively even. Finishes in 17:36 or a 5:40 average. Minimal slowdown. Number 4 goes out in 5:45, runs 11:30 to 2 miles, right even. Finishes at 17:51 for 5:45s, even. Okay? And I'll always have somebody running even pace, no matter what the distance is. So you can see the progression on one end and the digression on the other end, pace-wise. Okay? And number 5 runner goes out in 6 minutes, comes back in 11:55 for a 5:55, and then finishes at 18:06 for a 5:50 average. So picks up to in the 5:40s towards the end. Okay, nice progression. You'll see a minute spread from 17:06 to 18:06. Okay, now let's move it over here to a 30-second spread, and let's see what kind of adjustments we can make. So instead of going out in 5 minutes, let's say you go out in 5:08, come back in 10:24 for 2 miles, but now you're finishing in 16:40 for a 5:22 average. Okay, so the stronger you are, go out a little bit slower, allows you to have a lot more energy towards the end. And now you're 26 seconds faster than you were before. Okay. Number 2 runner goes out in 5:16, so right around the same ballpark, only a second difference. Comes back in 10:36 now, 4 seconds ahead of 2 miles, but now finishes at 16:47. Just 5:24 average, was almost 35 seconds faster than before. Number 3 runner, 5:24 at the 1 mile instead of 5:30. 10:50 at the 2 mile instead of 11:05, so about 15 seconds ahead now. And then finishing at 16:54 instead of 17:36, okay, for a 5:27 average. Now, look, you are 15 seconds ahead at the 2 mile. At the finish, you're 40 seconds ahead. So again, finishing strong, a lot stronger than you were before. So not only you're running a little bit smarter, but you're much fitter now too. Okay, and improved fitness helps do that as well as improved race strategy. Okay, 5:32 instead of 5:45 for your number 4 runner at the 1 mile. 11:02 instead of 11:30, so you're 28 seconds ahead now at 2 miles. Finishing in 17:02 for a 5:29 average. You gradually accelerated a little bit. Okay, so it's mostly even across the board. And then 5:40 for your number 5 runner instead of 6 minutes. And it's 11:16, which is a 5:36. Okay, and then finishing in 17:10 for a 5:32 average. So this one, number 4 athletes, mostly even across the board. This is a significant negative split from the beginning to the end. Okay, and look at. I don't know if you noticed, but your 17:10, your number 5 runner, is only 4 seconds off of where your number 1 runner was before. Huge improvement. Again, improving this way instead of that way. Okay, that's the ideal scenario. Okay, now let's move to 8 kilometers and 5 miles. Number 1 runner, okay, goes out at 4:40 for the mile, 9:48 at the 2 mile, which is a 5:08, and then in 19:53, which is about a 5:05 for the 3 miles, and then 19:58, which is about a 5:05 again at 4 miles. It's generally folks will either maintain steady from 3 to 4 or slow down a little bit, kind of gear up towards a strong finish. It really depends on the athletes that you have, or the athlete that you might be. And then a 25-minute finish. Okay, so about a 5:02 came back a little bit faster for a 5-minute average. Number 2 runner goes down at 4:48, then a 9:53 at the 2 mile for a 5:05, then a 5:07 to put you have 15 minutes flat for 3 miles, then a 5:10 for 20:10, a little bit slow down, and then you pick it back up to a 5:05, runs 25:15 for a 5:03 average. Number 3, 4:56 at the mile, 10:02 at 2 miles, which is a 5:06, 15:08, which is another 5:06 at the 3 miles, 20:22, which is about a 5:14 at the 4 miles, and then finishing at 25:30, so coming back and running 5:08 for a 5:06 average for a 25:30 total. Number 4 runner goes 5:04 for the mile, then 10:15, which is a 5:11, okay, and then a 15:25, which is a 5:11, and then a 20:38, which is a 5:13 at the 4 mile, and finishing in a 5:07 for a 25:45 for a 5:09 average. Okay, and then number 5 athlete, 5:12s across the board evenly. 5:12, 10:24, 15:36, 20:48, 26 minutes, 5:12 even across the board. That's very difficult to do, to make something like that happen, especially if it's a little bit of a rolling course, but not impossible. It has happened before. Okay, now let's move over from here to here. Let's slow down a little bit for your number 1 athlete. And again, about 4 to 6 weeks down the road. And remember, we're doing the same course. Okay, so let's use Franklin Park in Massachusetts. Okay, so instead of going out 4:40, going out 4:45 now. Okay, now you're at 9:40 at the 2 miles instead of 9:48. Okay, you're at 14:45 at 3 miles instead of 14:53. Okay, remember, you're fitter. You're just going out a little bit more conservatively, but not much. 19:40 at the 4 miles instead of 19:58, and then finishing with a 4:50 mile to put you at 24:30, which is a 4:54 average. 30 seconds ahead of where you were before. It's a nice improvement from the number 1 athlete. Okay. Number 2, go out in the same 4:48 Okay, but instead of going to 9:53, you're a little bit fitter now. You're coming through 9:45. Then 14:50 at the 3 instead of 15 minutes, 10 seconds ahead of 3 miles. 19:40 at the 4 instead of 20:10, you're 30 seconds ahead of 4 miles. And then finishing in 24:37 instead of 25:15. Now you're about 37 seconds ahead. Okay, so you progress very, very nicely from the beginning to the end. Okay, number 3, number 3 runner goes out at 4:51 instead of 4:56. Okay, coming through at 9:50 instead of 10:02, so you're 12 seconds ahead. 14:55 instead of 15:08, you're 13 seconds ahead at the 3 mile. 19:50 for 4 miles instead of, where am I? Instead of 20:22, 32 seconds ahead. And then you're finishing 24:45 for a 4:57 average, which puts you at, look at that, 45 seconds ahead of where you were before. Nice improvement. Okay. Number 4 goes out at 4:54 instead of 5:04. Okay. 9:58 at the 2 miles instead of 10:15. 15 minutes at the 3 miles. Now you're 25 seconds ahead of where you were before. Okay. 20 minutes even at 2 miles, 38 seconds ahead of where you were before. And then you're finishing with a 4:52 mile to put you at 24:52 at 4:58 average instead of a 25:45. You're almost a minute ahead of where you were before. That's a nice improvement. Okay. And again, improved fitness and different racing strategy or better racing strategy helps pull you along. And your teammates can help pull you along too, because now you're closer to other teammates than you were before. You can see your teammates now. Okay. That's another part of the racing strategy as well. Your number 5 athlete going out in 4:57 instead of 5:12. 10:05 at the 2 mile instead of 10:24. 15:06 at the 3 mile instead of 15:36. You're 30 seconds ahead of 3 miles. 20:04 at the 4 miles instead of 20:48. And you're finishing 25 minutes flat instead of 26 minutes. You are a minute ahead of where you were before as a number 5 athlete. And look, your number 5 athlete is where you're coming in at the same time as your number 1 athlete was coming in before. That is a hell of an improvement. Okay, you brought the back up to the front. You know, and if you can have a 30-second spread in the college race, you're in pretty good shape from 1 to 5. You have a 30-second spread from 1 through 7. You got a hell of a team. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to show you how to kind of progress from a 1-minute spread to a 30-second spread. Kind of use this the way you want to use it, but I highly encourage you, if you're not doing it, to get race splits, analyze it, particularly if you're repeating races on the same course more than once in a season, 2 to 3 times. It allows you to monitor progress. Okay, allows you to make adjustments, whether in training or racing. This could also tell you who might need some more longer aerobic reps versus who might be more beneficial, who might benefit a little bit more from some shorter stuff like 800s and 1000s and so on and so forth instead of mile repeats or whatever. It gives you an idea, or it gives you an idea to how to break down a race too, or break down a workout. You know, you can do workouts where you're doing 800-meter repeats that get significantly faster throughout the workout. Okay, or a workout where you do longer reps that get faster. Okay, which can help. It's much harder to do, but another helpful option as well. So, if you find this content valuable, please click the like button and please click the subscribe button. I have 24 other training videos that go from training everything from the 5K all the way up to the marathon. It's broken down, detail, week by week, day by day, month by month throughout the whole season. And it's all periodization. It's all broken down for you. I have videos on time trials, a 1-mile time trial, and where it indicates where your fitness could be from 400, 800, 300, and 5K and your racing abilities based on your time trial, how to set the appropriate training paces, training in extreme weather. I've got a lot of different things, injury prevention, a running-specific flexibility routine. So if you find this valuable, I highly encourage you to not only click the like button, the subscribe button, but click the bell next to the subscribe button so you'll know when I post new videos. And I encourage you to take a look at my other videos as well. I think you'll find a lot of valuable content. My Instagram running page is Black Belt Running Coach. I do post a lot of running content on there as well. And for personal coaching, my email is blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to help out. And if you have any feedback on this or on any of my other videos, drop a comment down below. I always respond to comments. It's nice to have feedback from other folks in the running community, and coaches, athletes as well. It's nice to have a dialogue going back and forth. Okay? So with that said, have a great season. I'll talk to you next time.